For those who know my story, when I came to the US back in 2021, I never knew I could go back to school. In fact, I thought once you land in the US as a nurse, you have everything figured out. In the sense that you don't need anything else. I mean, you're working as a nurse, you have your bachelor's, and you're good to go. And that was fine. So my main aim was to complete the contract. That was my goal. I do my 6,240 hours with the agency, try to do them less than 3 years, done, get another job. Fast forward, after completing the contract, as a human being, there's that sense of, I don't want to stay here. What else can I do? And obviously, people were going back to school. When you are seeing colleagues, they're in school doing nursing program, as to be nurse practitioners. Those who came from Kenya with diplomas, they were going back to school to do BSN. So you could see this urge or this sense of somebody wanting to get better, which is a good thing. I didn't have it. I mean, not in that sense. I wanted to grow, but not through school. I had issues with it because the question was, what am I going to school to do? Will this be worth it, in the sense that, when you're going to school, not as a young man anymore, because the last time I was in a class, in an actual setting with a teacher in front of me, the last time was 10 years ago. That's when I graduated. So I can remember the struggle. I can remember the sacrifices that I had to put in to graduate with a high GPA score. The pass mark back then, it was a C+, and that was, I think, 70%. So for you to get an A, you had to score over 92%. So I could remember the struggles, the sleepless nights, when others were enjoying. It was campus life. People were having fun here and there. Most nurses could be seen spending hours and hours of time in the library. So I can remember. It's 10 years ago, but I can remember. Now fast forward, my contract is almost done. I have this urge. All along, people have been telling me, hey, have you ever considered being a motivational speaker? All along. Once we start talking, if we are friends, deep after like 2 minutes, we'll start talking about life, and if there are things that are challenging you, we go ahead and try to tackle them. And so I still have that urge to help people get better. And I did a coaching course that lasted 6 months. I invested in it heavily, paid thousands of dollars, spent time to read, and actually I completed. And fast forward, I even opened a coaching company. Well, that's the story of another day. Okay? It's a completely different story. But anyway, so the reason as to why I'm creating this video basically is to tell you why I decided to go back to school, and why I decided to go with the course that I'm going for, and the process that there was. So this is, I hope I'll be able to complete that in one sitting. Okay. So anyway, so 2025, some things you don't even know where they come from. I start thinking, I had said before, if ever I would go back to school, the only thing I would do was psychiatry, mental health. If I'm going back to school to sacrifice hours, to put in the work, then it has to be mental health. That's the only thing I have a huge affinity to. Is it easy? No. Far from it. But so I started trying to do my research about this mental health in the US, basically. And I realized there were challenges. First of all, the thing that came out strongly was the market is just saturated. Like everybody was going back to school to do mental health. Okay, so that was the first challenge. So the thinking is going back to school to do this program and then coming out after spending thousands of dollars, coming out and struggle to get a job, But that one didn't stop me. Nowadays we have a lot of information. It's too much. You can go to YouTube, you can go to TikTok, you can go to Reddit. So I went all in, dive deep. And eventually I said, yes, the market could be saturated. The program is not easy. I'm going to go into student debt. But still, I'm going for it anyway. I'm going for it because I can't think of something else. There's this CRNA, Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist. That's the top-notch program because of the returns that it comes with. But I couldn't afford it because for most part, you'll be required to leave your job and be a student. I'm the breadwinner. I can't do that for 3 years. And that course is also highly competitive. It's gonna demand a lot from me. And I didn't feel that I would genuinely love it just because of money. No. So the next best thing for me is this. So I went online, tried to look up. Okay, so I went in and posted in the WhatsApp groups of other nurses, and some nurses were in school for it, and they were gracious enough to give me information about their courses, the schools they are going in for. And now I had to make a decision, which university can I apply for? So we have these online programs, online universities like what is it called? Is it Chamberlain? We have many universities that are purely online. Okay, and those are the universities that most of the people I was asking they were going for, because they are purely online. You don't need to go to, there's no mortar and brick where you need to attend classes. And I want to say they are business oriented. They will do everything to get you in. In fact, I tried to apply with one of them and the response was quick. I got called the same day. We scheduled a meeting the following day, an online conversation, and we had an online conversation, and they told me step by step what I needed to do, and they even told me in 2 years you'll be complete. You see, so it was so quick, and there was little to no barriers or obstacles with this program. Are we still together? Good. So when I thought about that as I was keeping doing research, I found out a challenge, a huge challenge of what we call preceptorship. What that means is, yeah, excuse me, there are a number of hours that you will be required to complete in the clinical setting. You see patients or you see a qualified nurse practitioner seeing patients, and you watch and you learn in real time. Now people are having challenges finding those, and it was a big problem, and I could see it all over the internet. I could see people asking who would be my preceptor. So you need somebody in your local town who can actually be your preceptor. And from what I was learning, some of these universities, they were offering little to no help to get you that preceptor. So it was all on you. And most preceptors were requiring money. They wanted some sort of fee. And so there's that push and pull, that debate, should they charge to precept or not? And that one was a challenge. So I kept that in my mind, and then I went online and looked at a local university, somewhere that is brick and mortar. It's not on. I mean, it's not online. There's an actual building, university. And as I was reading into its website. One of the things that attracted me was they offer preceptors. That was a huge deal. But besides that, there were many barriers that I had to overcome to actually get an admission to that university. Okay, so I went in and started applying for this. In my emails, I was getting offers from the online universities, and they were offering assistant programs, about offers concerning tuition. They were saying we are giving you 10,000, we are reducing tuition by 10,000. I mean, there was something that anybody could quickly consider. But I said, you know what? I'm going to make a decision and I'm going to stick to it. If I regret, well and fine. I'm going to this university, the local university. Why? Because of this preceptor issue. Yeah. So one of the challenges was it was not purely online. It's hybrid. So once a week, you must go to school. All right? So if you're a person who does 4-5 shifts in a week, you must spare a full day to go to school. That means that may hurt your paycheck. Are we together? Good. The next thing, they required, on the online, they required me to do a few things. Number one, I needed to have my credentials re-evaluated. Remember, prior to coming to the US, I had done all this. I had had my degree, and was it high school, or I had had my papers re-evaluated by CGFNS. Now it's called True Merit. If you are a nurse, you're aware of this. And I remember the challenge that was. I had to go to the university, get them to send the transcripts straight to CGFNS offices. Are they in Canada? The offices? I'm not sure. So now the school was asking me, the school was not recognizing the CGFNS documents. And they wanted me to use other platforms, other credential evaluation services. So that was number one challenge. Number two, they wanted me to do IELTS. Yes. For nurses who have come to the US or those who are planning to come to the US, they know what that means. IELTS is an English test, but it's not just a mere English test, because people fail this test. I've had people doing 3 times, 4 times, even 8 times, and it's quite expensive, especially when you're in Kenya. When I did it, I remember, Ken, how much effort I had to put in. But I've done this. IELTS, I passed. I have the result with me. Of course, it's expired. It expires after 2 years. I've been living in the US for the last 5 years now. I've been taking care of patients, American patients. I've been speaking the language the entire time. So why are they making me do IELTS again? Nevertheless, I decided, you know what? I will knock all doors to make sure I go through this. So I went in, looked for an email of the admission administrator, and I went in and told him my story. It took a long time for him to understand, because from his perspective, he thought I was applying as what do we call them, an international student. Okay, so I had to give my story and sent over my CGFNS report, sent over my IELTS result, and he told me they don't recognize CGFNS. I have to look for something else. It was in December. So I had a few weeks before people could break for Christmas. So I went back to look for someone who knows someone in my previous university, and thankfully, just fast forward, I had my papers sent to World Evaluation Services, WES, for you guys who know it. So I had to wait for 4 weeks for them to evaluate and send the feedback to the university. Now the issue was IELTS. He told me he needed to consult with the department to see if they could waive IELTS. So even though that was being handled, I decided I need to get prepared. So I went online, tried to book a date. But before I booked a date, I wanted to get ready. So I went in, dived into revision. I bought a book, I put in the resources, I put in the work, I was getting ready. But in the back of my mind, I was like, if this cup can be taken away from me, this journey will be much easier. But nothing is guaranteed. So I kept following up. They went for Christmas, I had to wait, and nothing was forthcoming. Came back after now 2026. And let's just hold that thought right there. There's something else I need to tell you. A part of the application, they need referees. They need people who you've worked with, and probably your charge, your unit manager, besides you doing kind of an interview where they ask you questions, you respond, you put a camera, they see you responding to the questions, of which I did. So it's a tedious process that the online courses, the online programs were not asking for. I want you to know that. So I had taken the hard route. I had left the easier options. Okay? So I've completed the online interviews. Okay? Now there was a challenge of trying to get a manager to accept to be my referee, to put out to be part of my references, and you needed 3 of them, and I had a deadline to beat March 1st. We're already in January. So there's this normal human fear. How will they? I'm working in the ICU, but I'm interested in something completely different. And sometimes you don't want to tell your unit manager about these things. You just want to get started and just do your stuff. You don't want to bother anybody. You don't want to be asked. You don't want to be answering questions. Why are you deciding to do this? And so I had that kind of fear, and I was trying to think who else can do this. But one day I said, you know what? I had gotten 2 references from my charge nurses, and I was thinking of getting a charge nurse that I had worked with a while back in the emergency room, but he was not. When I emailed him and texted him, he was not responding quickly, and time was moving. So I decided, you know what, I will go and talk to this charge, to this unit manager, the ICU director. Then I went into her office and I told her I need help. I had conquered the fear of, whatever may happen. You have that kind of fear of unknown. How will this go? I mean, I know she wouldn't say no, but I was like, she may worry. I mean, this guy is in the unit in the ICU. Looks like he's not interested in ICU. Or, there's that kind of fear. Like, how is she gonna take this? To my shock, now listen to this, guys. I was shocked when she told me herself, she's been in ICU over 20 years. Herself is in school. For what? Guess what, guys? The same program that I was going for. Shock to my system. So I'm here, afraid of being judged of the route that I'm about to take. But whoever I'm fearing who's going to judge me is doing the same thing, and is going through the same challenge that I had feared, that I had foreseen. She actually shared. She was gracious enough to tell me, hey, I'm going in for psychiatry. I want to be an NP in psychiatry. And she gave me her reasons. I don't want this video to be too long. I mean, not share right now. But one of the reasons was the potential that she could work from home as a tele-psych nurse. That option is there. The potential. Because she was like, as I'm growing older in my future years, I would want to work from home. All right? Fair reasoning. I mean, now she was facing a challenge of getting a preceptor. And it was so bad that she had to move her credits from one university to the other so that she could get a preceptor. I don't know how that worked, but that was what she was working on. And I was telling her the university I had chosen. And one thing I forgot to tell you, there is a window period of applying. You don't just apply anytime. Okay? The period, and that was why I was lucky again. I didn't know this prior. I didn't know that there's a window to apply between October to March 1st. I didn't know. I had this thought, and I went in, and thankfully it was in the window of applying. So she told me the reason as to why she didn't apply for that local university was the intake is only once, and she was not ready to wait up to then. You see? So guys, if you want to go for something, just go for it. Honestly, just go for it. Because the fear that you're having is nothing. You'd be surprised. So, boom. So she took it. She told me, I'll give you a good reference. And that was it. Okay? So I beat that challenge, and Now, of course, I had to follow up because people are busy. I have to keep telling them, hey, please remember, I need to do this before this, before this. Eventually, she was able to do it. All right. Now, the IELTS problem is still standing. Now, we are in February. I had a challenge to even book a date to do IELTS. Now, number one challenge, it's not being offered in the local city where I stay. I have to travel 3 hours away. So there was one that that was 1 hour away that was offering this exam paper based. So nowadays there's a paper based, there's a computer based. My time it was only paper based. So the issue is usually it's a timed test, man. Am I comfortable enough to type quick? You know, especially the writing test, especially. So I was practicing typing. How fast can I type? That was part of my preparation, because the advantages of doing computer tests is if you fail one, number one, it's the fact that you can get results in 5 days, while paper-based to take 2 weeks. All right. So I was opting for that's number one reason. Number two advantage of computer based is if you fail one part of the exam, you can repeat only that. But with paper based, you have to repeat the entire exam because it has 4 parts: the reading, the writing, the speaking, and the listening. So if you fail listening, you can repeat on listening. But with the paper based, you repeat the entire. So I was going for computer based, and this first option, Austin was only offering paper based. The next place where they could offer IELTS was 3 hours away, and they only had dates on the weekends only, and you could find some dates they are already full. Now we are in February, or we are looking, I'm booking at on February, and remember the deadline is 1st March, so I was rushing against time. I was not getting an actual response from the university. Do you know what I did? One morning I woke up and went to the university and met, thankfully he was there, I met the admission coordinator. So he saw me face to face. So all the questions that he had about being an international student, we talked, told him my story, and you know, urged him that, you know what, this IELTS thing is not a straightforward thing as you think. If there's a way it can be waived, I'd appreciate. He told me, hey, I have to go and consult, you know. And so I left it at that. So I was fingers crossed. Finally, after, you know, lots of emails following up, and it got to a point now I had booked the exam, and it was scheduled on Sunday. Let's say an example, on Sunday. Today on Tuesday, I get an email from the university that they have finally accepted to waive for that exam. But I had put in the resources, I'd paid the money. I'd actually paid twice because they had a problem with seeing my first payment, and I didn't want to be locked out. So I had a question. I had one thing to think about. Should I still go and do the exam? That I can save $300. I mean, I've worked for it, but I don't need it anymore. So I decided, you know what, I'll go work that shift. So I didn't do it. Fast forward, guys. Finally, I got acceptance letter to join the university. So I don't know how it's gonna be. Again, naturally I have my fears. Is this the right decision? Is it gonna be worth it? Am I gonna go broke? I'm a family man. Will I be able to juggle all these things? Being a father, husband, working, and now school. I don't know, but I'm still going for it, a day at a time. And if you'd follow me through this journey, you would learn how my journey will be. So let's go ahead and like this YouTube channel and follow me for the next updates as I go back to school in my old age. And you have questions, ask them. You can also find me on TikTok at Josh Mogash, where I give you life updates here in the US. Till next time, bye.